Good evening, afternoon or morning. Movie Cat is at the microphone, and today I will tell you about the psychological drama, shame.
I mean, it is dirty.
Slowly.
Brandon is a successful man living in New York City. In the morning he wakes up with a stranger girl and goes to get ready for work. On the answering machine, a woman's voice many times insistently asks to pick up the phone. Brandon has an addiction to sex in any of its manifestations, so even after a night with a girl, in the morning he masturbates in the shower. On the way to work in the subway, elegantly dressed Brandon is smiling at a ginger girl with a wedding ring on her finger. Exactly, the ring makes her something like a forbidden target, which especially arouses Brandon, and he, unable to resist the desire, leaves the car because of her, totally not at the right station. However, he fails to catch up with the girl, he loses her in the crowd. Brandon comes to work late, listens disinterestedly to the director's speech at a meeting, and then notices in his office that his computer is missing. Director David says that the computer had a lot of viruses and was taken away for repairs. Frustrated, Brandon goes to masturbate in the toilet. At home in the evening, Brandon takes yesterday's food and beer out of the refrigerator and turns on the porn on his laptop again. Meanwhile, a woman's voice on the answering machine says she has a cancer, the worst kind of cancer in the world, cancer of the vulva. Brandon grimaces and turns off the answering machine. In the morning at work, Brandon cannot concentrate because he imagines his colleague, named Miriam, naked. The director of this company, David, having concluded a successful deal, invites colleagues to celebrate this event in a bar. There, David notices a blonde girl with a beautiful smile at the counter and tries to seduce her with compliments, drinks and dancing. However, David leaves the bar alone at the end of the evening, and the smiling blonde chooses the laconic and mysterious Brandon and offers to ride around the city. And then they have sex under the bridge. Back at home, Brandon hears music in his apartment. Looks like someone broke into his apartment and is taking a shower. Armed with a baseball bat, he finds his sister Sissy in the bathroom. After all, Brandon did not pick up the phone, so she has arrived. The brother gives her a towel, turns off the music in the apartment, sniffs his sister's coat, and goes to his room to masturbate. However, he finds it difficult to concentrate because the sister in the next room, in tears, confesses her love to someone over the phone many times. In the morning, Sissy says that she will have several concerts in New York and could she live here with Brandon during this time. He reluctantly agrees, but she must sleep on the couch and leave every morning the apartment with him. Leaving the house, brother and sister go to the subway. There, Sissy pretends she wants to jump onto the rails, but Brandon doesn't like such jokes. Brandon offers her money, but she refuses because she is paid very well for her concerts. At work, David invites Brandon to drink at a bar, but he has already promised his sister to come to her concert. The boss asks if he can go with. In an expensive restaurant, Sissy performs very sensual jazz music, ending the concert with the legendary Frank Sinatra song, New York, New York. After, Sissy joins the man for a martini. Brandon is aloof and therefore stingy with compliments. He absent-mindedly tells Sissy that her performance was interesting, entertaining and generally normal. David is friendly and talkative. Upon learning that the girl is afraid to drive a car, he promises to teach her how to do it, or even better, he can let her ride a golf cart but ride along Fifth Avenue. After drinking a fair amount of champagne, the three of them go to Brandon's apartment. Sissy and David first kiss passionately in a taxi and then have sex right in Brandon's bed. The owner of the apartment, unable to find a place for himself, goes to run through the streets of New York. Returning home, Brandon sees that David has already left for his place, so he changes bedding and goes to sleep. Sissy unexpectedly comes to her brother in the bedroom, dives under the covers and hugs him. Brandon sends her onto the couch with a yell. In the morning at the office, Brandon sees a computer on his desk that has finally been returned from repairs. David says that a lot of dirt was found on the hard drive, prostitutes, porn, hard porn and even more hard porn. The boss delicately says that apparently some psycho hacked into his computer because you have to be completely sick in your head to watch such things. During the coffee break, Brandon flirts a little with Miriam, a girl he sometimes imagines naked. In the evening they go on a date. Miriam recently divorced because her marriage didn't work out. At the same time, the girl was not disappointed either in men or in relationships, and she is sincerely surprised at Brandon's cynicism in this matter, since he considers marriage useless and relationships not practical. Then why are they here? However, at the same time, Brandon is cheerful and charming. He takes the girl to the subway and offers to repeat the date somehow. At home, Brandon goes to masturbate, forgetting to lock the doors, and Sissy, who has returned, finds him doing this. Later, she looks into her brother's computer, where a sex chat is already open, and the girl who undresses there knows Brandon by name. Sissy runs away from the apartment. Embarrassed, Brandon throws all his porn magazines, sex toys, and even his laptop into the trash bag. In the office in the morning, the first thing Brandon does is kiss Miriam and then take her hand. They get in a taxi and drive across town to a hotel with a great view of Eastover. Brandon kisses Miriam, undresses her, but nothing comes of it. Healthy relationships do not sexually arouse him. Frustrated, Miriam dresses and leaves. Brandon calls a prostitute and has no any problems with her. Returning home, Brandon finds his sister there. She asks to hug her. Brandon is angry with his sister because since she moved into his apartment, his life has become more complicated. Previously, he did not even think about whether he was a pervert. Brandon says that firstly, Sissy should move out, and secondly, to sleep with David, who has a wife and children, and then constantly call him and imposes on him. It's very miserably. Also, Sissy is a parasite that hangs on people's necks instead of arranging her own life normally. The brother sums up, slamming the front door furiously. Brandon heads to the bar. There a pretty girl approaches him, already pretty drunk. Brandon tells in detail how he would have sex with her and then puts his hand under her skirt. The girl does not mind at all, but suddenly her boyfriend comes. Brandon is not embarrassed by this. He continues his erotic fantasies aloud, so her boyfriend beats Brandon hard on the street. After, Brandon goes to pick up someone at a nightclub, but because of the broken face, the security guard does not let him in. Then aroused, Brandon goes to a gay bar and has sex with the first guy he meets. After that, he goes for a walk. The answering machine of his mobile phone has accumulated a lot of messages from Sissy, who is crying and wants to make peace, and also asks her brother to pick up the phone as soon as possible. However, Brandon does not do it. He comes to the apartments of two prostitutes and has a threesome with them. In the morning, Brandon returns home on the subway, but suddenly the train stops and passengers are asked to leave the car. Seeing the police and the tape barriers, Brandon first realizes that apparently someone rushed under the train, and then associatively recalls how Sissy jokingly scared him by jumping onto the rails. Knowing that his sister is usually, and especially tonight, not in the best mental state, Brandon begins to worry. He calls Sissy, but there is only an answering machine, and then Brandon quickly runs home. In the apartment, in the bathroom, he finds Sissy with her veins cut. In a panic, Brandon pinches her wrists and calls an ambulance. At the hospital, doctors manage to save her. Brandon gently strokes his sister's hand, which has dozens of scars from previous suicide attempts. Later, he goes outside in the rain and weeps bitterly in despair. A little while later, the wounds on Brandon's beaten face turned into barely visible scars. Elegantly dressed as always, he goes to work in the subway, where the same ginger girl smiles at him again. She is still wearing a wedding ring, representing the forbidden target, but now she no longer arouses Brandon for this reason. He probably seriously decided to reconsider his life in favor of a healthy sexual relationship. Thank you for your attention. Press hearts, write a comment for the channel development, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already.